Hey everyone, Bindu here. Welcome to the Meraki-versary second birthday YouTube hop. I cannot believe that it's been 2 years since I started Crafty Meraki, and look at where we are today. I would not have been able to do any of this without you, so I thank you all for being here today. Of course, when there's a celebration, we gotta have a giveaway, right? So I'll talk more about the giveaway as we go along and we start making our card. But first, let me show you my card for today and we'll dig into how I made my card for today. I started out with this acanthus leaf die set from the very new release that launched today, and I used the Spellbinders Color Essentials cardstock, which comes in this pack of 20 sheets. Each color, there's 10 colors and each color repeats twice. So I used all the 10 colors from this paper pack and I die cut with the largest leaf die using each one of these color sheets of paper. So I have 10 die cuts all in the same shape, all different colors. Now I have my beautiful rainbow of leaves, as you can see. Now that we have our die cuts, I'm gonna glue them all together. And here's a tip. I am using the stamp package as my base here so that I can get my glue on and I still won't leave a mess on my work surface. Otherwise, the glue is gonna get everywhere and then I'm gonna have to start peeling it. So anyway, I have my make art station. I'm using my magnets to hold down the stamp packaging acetate. And I'm gonna flip over the die cuts and I'm using barely art glue. I'm gonna ever so lightly add some glue to the back of my very first color that I wanna put on top of my stack. So I'm adding glue and I'm going to start gluing each one of these die cuts onto each other, but I'm not going to glue them directly on top. I am going to offset them slightly. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So when I glue these die cuts together, I am stacking them so that I can still see the color underneath as well as the color on top. As we build these die cuts, I'm going to make sure that all of the rainbow colors, all of the 10 shades that I use are visible when we put them on top of our card base. So there you go. Here's how I offset it. And now I'm going to keep repeating this process. So I'm going to add glue on the back of this die cut, and then I'm going to continue gluing all the other colors one on top of the other. So while I'm gluing my die cuts together, I can tell you more about the giveaway we have for today. One lucky winner will get all of the dies and the gorgeous gems that were just released today. So full release for one lucky winner, and another lucky winner, because it's our second anniversary, we got to do everything in twos, you know. So another lucky winner is going to win a $100 gift certificate to the Crafty Meraki store. So for your chance to win, all you have to do is hop along on all the stops on this hop, leave a comment, and let us know where you're coming from. And then keep hopping along to all of the stops, leave your comments, subscribe to all the channels, make sure you're leaving comments for your chance to win. I will announce the winner here on YouTube as well as on the Crafty Meraki Instagram account. All right, so moving on to my next step here. I have a piece of purple tape. I'm using a piece of purple tape and I have flipped it sticky side up. And I'm making myself a little bit of a handle, room to handle the tape on both ends. So I folded the tape onto itself on both ends. So the middle part is sticky, but the sides, two ends are not sticky. So I'm doing this because now that I have my glued together die cut, I can stick it to this tape and I can have my hands free. I don't have to burn my hands when I'm about to do my embossing. Great tip, huh? So I'm just sticking it on, like I said, onto this piece of tape. So I don't have to hold my die cuts. I don't have to use any pokey tools. All I have to do is now I'm going to put it on top of the make art station. I'm going to use my magnets to hold the tape down And I'm using the silicone mat that comes with the glimmer machine, the hot foil machine, because I'm about to bring my heat tool directly onto this surface. And I'm using silicone to protect everything else so that it can absorb the heat and the heat doesn't go anywhere else. Smart, right? Make sure you save this tip. So now is my embossing tip. Now I'm going to do my embossing step where I'm going to bring my embossing pad directly to this stacked die cut. I'm putting a piece of scratch paper here underneath my die cuts because that way I don't get the ink on my work surface or the make art station. I'm simply going to just put the white paper underneath it, leave my magnets in place, and I'm going to add the embossing ink directly on top of the die cuts. I also have my heat gun ready and going off to the side. It's on and it is getting ready, getting hot, so that as soon as I put my ink on and my embossing powder on, I can get the heat directly straight to the work surface, and my silicone mat is going to protect it. So I'm adding my embossing ink to the die cuts, and now I'm going to sprinkle some Brutus Monroe Fairy Dust embossing powder directly on top of this tape, on top of the die cuts. So now I'm going to tap off the excess, and I'm going to bring the heat gun directly onto this tape, and I'm going to protect my surface with the silicone mat like I was saying earlier. So I'm going to bring my heat gun directly to this surface. I'm going to heat it up and watch the embossing powder melt. It never gets old, right? It's always so fun to watch embossing powder melt. So all I'm doing is I'm doing short circular motions directly on top of this die cut, the tape, silicone mat, everything else in place. All I'm doing is making sure that I am not putting too much heat in one place. I'm moving, as you can see, from one place to another. I'm using circular motions, and I just keep repeating the process. We're gonna do this embossing process 3 times. So we're gonna add the embossing powder, heat set, let it cool down for a minute, bring the embossing ink back to this stacked die cuts, and then we're going to add more embossing powder, we're going to heat set. So we're going to repeat that process 3 times. I have one more tip for you. So once you're done heat embossing the front with your heat gun, in order to help the die cuts come off of the tape easily and so that you don't have any paper tear, flip this whole tape over and run the heat gun on it a couple times. Once you do that, the heat will help the glue and the paper separate. See how easily the tape just peels off? That's what it does if you run the heat gun on the back of the tape as well. Once we have the die cuts peeled off, our centerpiece, focal attention of our card is ready. Look at all that gorgeous shine and shimmer that we got from using the heat embossing and the fairy dust embossing powder a couple times. Now all that's left to do is to assemble our card and put our focal piece on our card base. I have a Mini Slimline card base here, which is about 3.5 inches wide by 6.25 inches tall. So I had my card base ready. All I'm going to do next is I'm going to use my glue, and I will simply glue on this entire stack of my die cuts onto my card front. I'm using glue sparingly one more time, but I am making sure to add glue to every little crevice there is on my stack of die cuts, just to make sure that I have a good coverage and I can make sure that my die cuts stick to my card front really well and they're not going to come off. Once I have my glue on the back of this die cut stack, I'm just going to add it on to my card base, and I'm going to give it good pressure so that the glue and the paper can do their thing. For my final step, I used the same cardstock scraps from the Spellbinder Color Assorted pack, and I used this Margaret Meraki Flora dies also to die cut these tiny little flowers that I'm going to add to my card front as embellishments. So again, I used the same colors, same cardstock, and I die cut a bunch of these tiny little flowers. But I decided I'm only going to use the blue as the kind of the embellishments for the card. All I'm doing is I'm taking the same stack of Flora dies and I'm simply gluing them to the card front. So I'm taking the darker shade, I'm using that as the base. I'm going to glue that onto the paper. And then I'm going to take the lighter blue shade and just a smaller version of the same shape and attach it together. So I'm stacking the die cuts one more time with this blue shade. So I'm attaching the smaller blue on top, and I'm going to do a set of 3. Somehow, I don't know, I was told you should always work in triangles. It just looks better for the eye, apparently. So I'm just following that tip. And all I'm doing is I am attaching 3 sets of flowers onto the card front on the bottom right corner. And I'm going to use these brand new Meraki Sparkle gems in this color called Green Illusion. It's a gorgeous color which has lots of shades of greens, purples, blues. It's a really amazing shade which it's hard to capture in the camera. But I'm using the gems from this Sparkle Illusion, Green Illusion set, and I'm just adhering right to the center of my flower die cut. And that's almost it. Like I said, I'm just adding the final touches. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you loved the release. Please let me know in the comments what you think of today's release. Please also let me know where you're coming from. If you're a first timer, welcome. Let me know who sent you here in the comments so I can thank them. I hope you will also join us on Instagram today. We have another hop going on Instagram. I hope you will join us there as well for more chances to win. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you for joining us today. I will see you next time. Until then, stay happy, stay crafty. Bye.